Leader Willis, do you own a firearm?
I do not, but two of my children do.
To the bill. That does not surprise me. While I don't think the constitutional arguments will resonate with the Democratic majority, I will share a few personal experiences that I feel might help in you making your decision. Like many people, I moved away for college, and I went to the largest college in the entire country. I moved to Arizona. It ranks currently 14th in population, has had both Republicans and Democratic governors, and that was my exposure and my first exposure to the Second Amendment. But also, and within my first job, Leader Willis and members on the other side of the aisle, I worked in home communities that were in very remote areas, and I'm going to share a very, very personal story. There was a lady that was raped and murdered. Oftentimes, when we sold properties, we had to be alone, defenseless. Now, I worked for a corporation, the largest home builder in the entire country. Not knowing how he was going to respond, he responded very, very simply. Do what you have to do to protect yourself. Think about that, folks. The lawyers in this room went crazy. How can a Fortune 500 company say such a thing? Do what you do to have to defend yourself. And the ladies in the industry and many of the men did exactly that. They did what they had to do to defend themselves. However, unlike many people, I moved back, and one of the first things I had to do was being introduced to these FOID cards. The only thing that's not accurate is my weight, but I think it's reasonably accurate. I got all this plastic. I got a FOID card, I got a concealed carry, and I also got one in Arizona just to make sure you all on the other side of the aisle got the warm and fuzzy and felt very safe. But the FOID card wasn't really a bad thing, Leader Willis. It was only $10 for 10 years. Well, I didn't agree with it. I was obedient, law-abiding. I got this wonderful FOID card that the Democratic majority made me get. But to follow up, to make sure you were extra safe, I got the concealed carry in both Arizona and Illinois. I wanted to make sure you all felt the warm and fuzzies and that my family could exercise their constitutional amendment and make you feel safe. But the Supreme Court did one thing, didn't they, Leader Willis? They required you to get concealed carry. Why? Because you infringed on the Second Amendment. But policies are about results, so let's talk policy. Let's go to the most dangerous cities in the entire country: St. Louis, Detroit, Baltimore, Memphis, Kansas City, Little Rock, Milwaukee, Rockford, Cleveland, Stockton, California. Do you know what they all have in common? They're all ran and controlled by Democrats. That's right, Democrats. Chicago is 21st. So let's talk about how Mayor Lori Lightfoot had to address the people in Chicago during Memorial Day. And I quote, "We're flooding the zone. We know the areas in the city where we believe there are challenges, and we're going to make sure that we are physically present." What does that mean? 1,200 Chicago police officers working overtime and adjusted their schedule. She went on and said, "I didn't come into this with any illusions that we're going to be able to wave a magic wand and reverse trends and have been in the making for some time. We are down on homicides from a year ago, but we're up on shootings. That's clearly unacceptable," the new mayor said. But the Democratic majority did take a page out of the former mayor, Rahm Emanuel, who was famously quoted as saying, "Never let a crisis go to waste." And that's exactly what you're doing, folks. That's exactly what you're doing. But you're actually hurting the middle class and the working poor that you also eloquently talk about protecting. You are raising the FOID cards 1,000%. That disproportionately hurts the working poor and the middle class. You are going to ask that 1 in 4 people that I represent get fingerprinted. Why don't you make this requirement look like the legislative districts and make this for Chicago? Let's gerrymander this. This doesn't apply to the rural areas that I represent, Leader Willis. Not even close.
Representative, please bring your remarks to a close.
But this will impact the seniors, the veterans, and the rural residents. Yesterday, we heard.
Thank you.